Have you checked the children? Your little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil, Laird.
Robert Duell.
Fuego here.
And we are here to continue our review series. Not yet conclude, but continue our review series of Hellraiser with Revelations. And this is the first one that was egregiously made specifically to keep the rights at Dimension Films. This one, the rights were running out, so they literally fast-tracked it within a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Filmed the damn thing pretty much all in one location and shoved it out on DVD. Yes, still DVD at the time, no VOD at the time yet. And this was not a great movie. It's the first recasting of Pinhead as well, the first non-Doug Bradley Pinhead, which is the movie's chief offense, in my opinion.
Yep.
While the movie is not great, while the acting is not great at times, I actually kind of dug the story of this one. But overall, it's still a bad movie. So that's my overall thoughts. Robert.
Overall, yes, this was a literally holy sheep shit in a duffel bag, Batman. What a train wreck. Mm-hmm. There were again.
Pretty sure Robert never said that. But okay.
There were some elements of the movie I did enjoy, but in a whole, between the acting and just especially the acting.
Did we mention the acting,
That was-
especially from the parents?
Yeah, it was not good, and that was one of the most probably the most unenjoyable Hellraiser movie. I would watch Deader again before this.
It's saying a lot.
Bold statement. Yeah.
It is saying a lot.
Fuego.
Yeah, I really did not like this movie. It was the low budgetness and the fact that so much of it took place in just this nice looking home and like in the LA area, Beverly Hills, wherever the hell it might have been, Hollywood Hills, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, the recasting and the fact that Doug Bradley was shown a script like a week or two before the shooting was supposed to take place, they're just like, hey, check it out. We haven't made a Hellraiser movie in years, and they wouldn't make another one for 7 more years, but come back. And he was like, no, I'm going to sit this one out. You guys can go embarrass yourselves. And
Honestly,
stuff.
I'm glad he did, because it would have
He
really would have
chose
tarnished
wisely.
Yeah, it personally would have tarnished the legacy he's already made of the character.
Some would say some of the other ones have already done that.
Well,
but
to a degree and everything, but this one I think would have done an extreme disservice to him as that character.
The one thing I will agree with Cecil about, though, is there is a callback to the first 2 films that we get in this, which was one of the few.
it's the first one that
things.
actually addressed that side of the Hellraiser lore.
And that was one of the cherry pick things that I did like about this
So
movie.
that portion of the story was what made it bearable, I suppose, because everything else was awful.
Yes.
See, yeah, let's get into the story of it, because that's, again, where I think the movie actually acquits itself well, because it's a unique story that definitely goes about a Hellraiser story in the same way the first and second movie did. More specifically, the first one.
Yeah.
So it starts off with 2 bros going down
Super
to TJ to get laid and get drunk, and
Literally.
it's all their sections are done in found footage, and we show them on their way down there, and then we cut to this family, or 2 families rather, that have gathered at a house to have dinner post disappearance of both young men. They are nowhere to be found, presumed dead, lost somewhere in Tijuana, Mexico. And so these families have gathered to talk and mourn, one would assume.
Lots of drinking going down.
Lots of drinking going down.
Yeah.
And then so it's not ruining anything to say that this is one of the worst offenses of the use of the character of Pinhead, in that for the first 2/3 of the movie, he's there. You see him, not Doug Bradley, but you see him, and all he's doing is walking around his world listening to the dialogue of what's going on in the real world. He's not doing anything. He's just walking and listening, hearing their dialogue. He doesn't do anything until the back half of the movie, and at that point it's too late. And they didn't bother doing any voice modulation. So it's just a dude whispering for Pinhead, and it just doesn't work. So that aside, though, at one point in the story, one of the kids shows up. One of the men shows up. Kids, man, they're really closer to teenage boys.
Yeah,
you know, they're late teens, early 20s, college
whatever.
Age kind of thing.
Probably not old enough to drink beer, so that's why they're down in Mexico.
Exactly. So one of them shows back up and is just not acting right, and the mystery unravels as to what might have happened. There's actually some backstory within the families that have affected things behind the scees.
Oh, yeah,
that gets a
that's
little
right.
bit messy.
Some of the reveals.
That gets a little bit messy,
And
but
the sister scene.
there is a reveal. There's a reveal towards the yeah. It's weird, but then the reveal excuses
Yeah, well, yeah, it does. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like,
It made you uncomfortable for a reason.
yeah,
It made me uncomfortable too. I was like, I don't like this. Maybe this was one of the things. But then when they reveal it, I was like, okay, that actually makes sense. So I actually liked the twist.
Yeah, because they flash back to the other stuff that happened, you know, because they get themselves in some trouble down there, and things proceed to escalate.
Yeah,
and
for
build upon
breaks
themselves.
to take breaks in the now storytelling, they flash back to more footage that some of the characters are watching on a little mini DV cam that the boys filmed in Mexico. So we're getting aspects of their backstory filled in on just the kind of stuff that they were doing. And meanwhile, one of them, so there's one primary girl involved who is the sister and girlfriend of the two boys respectively.
Yeah.
And so that all plays into it, and then there are revelations made with, you know, the guy that actually makes it back and stuff like that. So again, story-wise, I actually kind of dug it. I'm taking these Hellraiser movies at this point as just a full-length feature anthological series, and this was, the story of it was a good installment of said series. It's the execution of said story and the terrible makeup effects and the poor acting. I actually like the kid. The kid that came back, I thought he did a good job. Everyone else around him was pretty rough.
He was more convincing and everything,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Especially than the other friend.
I mean, so yeah, that's the thing. I liked the story, but everything else was just kind of a flop for me. Your guys' thoughts on the story? I mean, I know Fuego touched on it.
I'm basically kind of right there personally. There was little aspects of the story that I did like, but as in a whole, for the final product of what we got, you could definitely tell how quickly they rushed through this. They weren't really overall thinking too deeply into the story, and I think that's what was the biggest issue.
Although I do have to say, with how quickly they threw it together,
It could've been
they at
worse.
least had a solid
It's a
enough,
really cohesive story for
Yeah,
being
It
thrown
could have
together.
been, it could have been worse and everything, but again, I think with the biggest things like the homages to the first movie and everything, I think that's what definitely helped save it a little bit more. But at the same time, it really still wasn't enough.
That's fair. I think, honestly, us talking about how the homages to the first and kind of second film are there, I think that might sell people more on actually giving this one a try, because people just crapped on this movie. And it is definitely crap worthy, except for the fact that it has to be acknowledged. If you're a Hellraiser fan, you should watch it, because the way the story is executed is more Hellraiser-like than the last 4 sequels.
That's valid. Yeah, I will definitely agree with that one.
Well, and also going into it wanting to hate because of the fact that Bradley wasn't in it, I think that was just rose-colored
Makes it
glasses
easy to
sort of
hate it.
situation. Yeah.
And it's with good reason, because the new actor is terrible. His
He's
head
bad.
shape is all wrong for Pinhead.
Yeah, and he looked
Weird.
young.
He looked like a baby.
Yeah,
At least
he
the
looked-
Pinhead
He was like a baby Pinhead.
At least the Pinhead in Judgment looked good.
And
No,
sounded
yeah, he
pretty
was
good.
menacing.
Sounded pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily like the use of him in that story, but we'll get to
Yeah.
that at some point.
Effects-wise in this one, though,
There's some decent kills.
decent
There
effects.
were,
Yeah, practical.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
didn't rely on a lot of CG in this one. It was mostly practical, and I thought it worked. Well. You didn't get a ton of it because there isn't like a many kills. There's a couple, but it's not as many as you'd get in your typical Hellraiser movie. But technically, neither was the first one. The first one didn't really have as many kills as your typical Hellraiser movie.
That's why
ended
they
up.
Honestly,
that's
I
why
think
they doubled down in 2.
I would
right?
say I think that's why like between 2 and 3 are my more highly respected ones.
get more kills, yeah.
Yeah. Like, don't
But-
get me wrong, first one's still.
But
solid.
again, I can't. If I'm giving an honest review of this movie, there were a couple. The fact that it was so on the Hellraiser 1 track really gave it some points for me. It's a complete failure in almost every other way. but that is a big chunk of the movie. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
don't know.
and the death of the parents. Well, not all of the parents without spoiling stuff, but how a couple of the parents get killed in that third act. That was some solid, like, practical effects, faces being torn off. It was almost like they had a little bit more budget that they spent on that as opposed to various other things, like, different set locations and whatever else. But
that ending sequence and everything, but even just in a whole of the gore and the kills was the highlight and really the only best part of this movie.
It's still your typical kills with chains getting thrown and
it's like
ripping up flesh and whatever.
It's
but
Hellraiser kills and everything, but push everything out the side and you just focus on that, it definitely makes it a little bit more enjoyable.
If I recall, though, it does break the Hellraiser rules at the end, in that just kind of
okay.
Yeah, everyone. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
with that, yes.
Well, I mean, now that I remember, though, didn't it go after certain people because of infidelities or whatever?
Well, it was basically sins of the flesh, basically.
Yeah,
is what they're looking at.
But I guess maybe that's how they justify it.
Yeah, that was, I think, their minor explanation of why the couple people got taken and everything like that, because it was revealed, one of the other wife was sleeping with the dad and shit like that.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
But
it's almost a 10-year-old movie.
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah. But for like an hour 15-minute movie, like,
very short.
Not a huge investment.
No, they really didn't invest much, and you can even tell with how they wrote the story, and they didn't really have much else to flesh out.
Again, it felt more like an overstuffed episode of a Hellraiser TV series.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with. Again, I truly hope that Hellraiser series that we're getting is A, anthological, and B, as good as the... Again, I think Hellraiser is better for anthologies than almost any other horror property out there.
Because especially if you do it like, your hour episode, taking 45 minutes, but you literally keep like the last 15, 20, that's when you introduce like the Cenobites and everything at the end of each episode.
If you even need that, again, think about some of those stories. The guitar player, the jazz singer, didn't even really need Cenobites.
True.
Right? It just was an excellent Hellraiser story. So again,
I'll give you that. Okay.
Focus on just good storytelling involving the box. And that's the other nice thing. I liked the fact that the Hellraiser comic series we reviewed expanded it so there's many boxes. There's many configurations. And some are music boxes, some are puzzle boxes, some are neither of the two.
That was the cool thing too.
I like that because everyone could just be
Cenobites, different creatures for each different box. It wasn't
true. Yeah,
straight
each ones are assigned.
Pinhead and his collected 4.
And that's
so then you could do throughout time too, and
exactly.
You don't have to worry about Pinhead being in every single one of them.
And that's also
would
where
work out,
more people encountering these devices makes so much more sense, and you can tell more stories without having to adhere to some continuity constraints. So.
Yeah, well, especially if they go over for Bloodline. And everything like that with the demon girl that was originally released. That would be a nice, especially even like the first few episodes, just to kind of re-encapsulate everybody into the lore, and then you can kind of
We're gonna have to do it
push
soon if we're gonna get Doug Bradley in any way, shape, or form, though. So
True.
We'll
I mean, he expressed interest in the Scarlet Gospels if they could ever make it, but
that'd
would that be expensive
That'd
to
be
do it
very
properly?
Expensive, but really, and he, for the fighting, he's kind of
Part of me though,
kind of
like,
up there in years.
I wouldn't honestly mind seeing it as even like a mini series.
Because
that would be
event series.
an event series and everything. Say even like
put it on HBO Max.
What about a
4
really
or 5
cool
hour
animated movie?
Well, obviously
that would be really cool.
That would be an animated anthology.
Just cut loose.
Well,
like
that would be
the last
like an
Constantine
animation
movie.
for budget-wise, that would be one of the best ways to go because you get all of the gore, all the creatures.
You get Doug Bradley. to play him.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about makeup. You just need his voice.
You don't have to worry about the physicality of him fighting Satan.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And also the constraints of just making that world real.
Think about the Hellboy movies. You could get hardcore R. And really be a badass movie.
Yeah.
The Dead Space movies went for it.
Spawn back in the day.
Yeah.
I was just
Oh my god.
rewatching some of on HBO
Dude,
Max,
that
man.
HBO Spawn series
That was
is going to
great.
stand the test of time, dude.
As it
It's
should.
so good.
So R-rated and so of the times.
Anyway, any other
David
thoughts
for
on
a
Revelations?
Last thing that I wanted to mention, and
There you
Cecil mentioned this during the Hell World review, is that it's like, okay, they go to space, they do the whole meta thing. This with the
digital
reality, kind of found footaginess.
found
when
footage,
it's starting,
yep.
This is Hellraiser's found footage. So,
The one
so
thing I
there you
will
go.
definitely say,
Every Hellraiser movie is different, is what my point was in the last review.
one thing I would definitely say is at least I'm glad the found footage wasn't too over heavy-handed.
True. If the whole movie had been found footage, it'd be too much.
When they started out with that, I was like, oh god, what do we have ourselves in for?
I was honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit worried because I've said it before on reviews. I'm not a found footage fan.
I do think that
I'm picky and choosy.
they were talking about doing a Friday the 13th found footage movie for a while there. I do think of anyone, the Friday the 13th would lend itself most to found footage.
More
the
so
whole
than
camp
Halloween,
thing, and he's
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
you play him like Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know, you only catch glimpses of him because otherwise you're running from his ass.
Yeah,
You know what I
basically,
mean?
yeah. I can see
anyway,
that. I can see that working a little
it's a whole
bit
side
better.
discussion. We should do a whole video on what horror properties would actually lend themselves to found footage.
Benefit
That'd
from
be
that
fun.
sort of
That'd be a fun
approach.
live stream. All right. Well, you just saw the gestation of that idea right here. So
Take note. Take note.
that's our thoughts on Hellraiser Revelations, you guys. Largely considered the abomination, and I do still believe the worst entry in the franchise. However, there actually are a couple of redeeming qualities to it that no one, I don't think, ever talks about. So I think it was worth having this discussion.
We try to be objective.
Let us know what your thoughts are on Hellraiser Revelations in the comments down below. If you've seen it, if you've just avoided it because of all the crap you've heard about it, give it a try. Again, it's the most like Hellraiser 1 since Hellraiser 1. I mean, Hellraiser 2 was a lot like it too, but it even went bigger. This keeps it low-key like the first one, so that's why I make that comparison there.
And it's free with ads on Tubi if you just don't want to pay. me
There
for
you
it,
go.
so-
Fair enough. So let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe. Click that notification bell if you don't want to miss our review of the final Hellraiser movie, but more importantly, the tier list ranking that is going to soon follow it. Until next time, however, I've been Cecil Laird.
Robert Duell.
Gracias. I mean, fuego.
Thank you very much to our patrons, and remember, stay scared.